and welcome everyone. I am Dhawal Deshpande, founder and CEO of Codigo Aldia, an edtech startup in IT domain. So today we are going to discuss about strings and solve some questions to understand its implementation. In our last video, we have solved 10 basic questions and understood the basic concept and syntax. If you haven't seen the video, please check the link in the description given below. Also, as you all know, we have a growing community on Discord in which people explore and learn new technologies. And to make learning fun, we are planning many online events, some of which are daily events like gaming, tech talks, etc. And some of them are monthly, like Coding Fest, and many more. To know more about the events and our community, please visit the Discord link given in the description below. So let's start with understanding what is string, its properties, working, and some related functions. So for that, let's move on to our coding environment. Okay. So here is our environment. We are going to use VS Code as our text editor or code editor, also known as IDE. Right. Here are some questions that we are going to solve today. So moving forward, let's understand what exactly string is. So by definition, string is an immutable sequence data type. That means we cannot change the string once it is formed. So in other words, it is a sequence of Unicode character wrapped inside single or double quotes, right? So this was the definition. Let's see what exactly our string looks like when we form one, right? So we will take a variable, right? Then we will take quotation, and after that we will pass on our string, let's say Python. The second type that we have discussed, which is the double quote, it will be like this, Python. So both of these strings are the same. What we are doing, we are just using different quotations, right? So if we'll go ahead and print both of these, so we will get the same output, like Python for A and again Python for B. Let's say we will do it as Python 1 so we can see the difference. So here is our output, it's Python and Python 1, right? So this is the representation of string. So moving forward, we will see some of the operators, right? So the first operator that we are going to work around is the arithmetic plus operator, right? So it's plus operator, right? So this operator is actually used to concatenate the string. In return, a string consisting of the operand joined together, right? So what does this mean? Let's say we are taking a string ABC and the second string, let's say 1 2 3, right? When we go ahead and use the operator of plus, it will concatenate or add both the strings, right? So first part will be the part which consists ABC and the second part will be 1 2 3. So how are we going to do that? So for that, let's go ahead and print the output using the add operator or the plus operator. Right, so now when we are going to run this particular program, it will give us the concatenated string, which is ABC and 1 2 3, right? The second operator here that we are going to understand is the multiplication software, multiplication operator. So this particular operator creates multiple copies of a string. Let's say if uh, A is a string, right? A is a string. Let's say A, B, C. This is a string, and let's say we have an integer, let's say 4, right? So now when we go ahead and print a multiplied by n, what it will do is it will give us 4 copies of string a, right? So clear the terminal and run this particular program. So here we can see this is the first copy, second copy, third and fourth. So we got 4 copies of our string, right? So hope you hope you have understood these two operators. If not, please mention your queries into the comments, or you can join our Discord. Link is given in the description below. So moving forward, the next operator is in operator. So this operator is used to check if a certain phrase or character or a substring is present in a string or not, right? So let's say we have a string Python, correct, and we have a substring, let's say on, and we have to check if the string b is present in our string a or not, right? So for that, what are we going to do is print b in a, and when we run this, it will give us true because this particular substring is present in our main string, which is a, right? So this particular operator is also used when we are looping around with the string or looping through the string, right? So if we are talking about loops, right, so when we are talking about looping, we can loop through the string using 2 methods. One is using the characters directly. So for characters, what we are going to do is let's say we are having a string, so for I in a, print I. So when we pass this, what will happen? We are going to get all the characters present in our string one by one as the loop runs, right? So we'll go ahead and run this. Right. So this is the first way of looping through the strings using the characters. The second part is using index, right? So let's see how we use the index. So when we are talking about index, what are we going to do? We are going to use a function which is range, and I understand we know how range function works, as we have discussed the functionality and working of range function in our previous video, right? So here we are going to pass a specific range which will be the length of string. So this is a new function, I do understand. We are going to discuss this len function in some time, right? So here our main concern is looping through our string using the index. So here I will represent as index, right? So we are going to pass it through our string. So here what we are doing is we are using I as index for our string, right? And it is going to provide the same output that we have seen in the previous code that we have made, right? But here, instead of going for with characters, what we are doing, we are going, or we are using the index. Okay, so if we'll run this program, we can see we got the same output, but instead of using the characters, what we are doing, we are using the index. So moving forward, the next thing that we are going to discuss is the len function, right? This particular function. So what this function do, right? So this function provides us the length of the string, or the number of characters present in the string, including white spaces, right? So whenever, let's say we have a string Python, correct? And if we print len a, it will provide the number of characters present in our string, right? So see here, if we'll manually count the number of characters present in Python, it's 6, and we are getting the output as 6, right? So moving forward, as we have discussed that we use index as we are looping through the string, right? So what exactly index is? Index or indexing, correct? So in Python, strings are ordered sequence of character data, right? And thus we can index this particular data type, that is string. So individual characters in a string can be accessed by specifying the string name followed by a number in a square bracket, as we have seen, right? That in for, when we are printing out or getting an output, what we are using the variable a, which is our string. We are using bracket, and in the bracket we are passing on the index or the integer, right? This is the same thing that so here I is the index or the integer that we are using to represent a single or individual character, right? So string indexing in Python is 0 based. So the first character in the string has an index of 0, the next has index of 1, and so on moving forward. The index of the last character will be the length of the string minus 1, right? So we know that index starts from 0, right? Second thing is last index is equals to len of a minus 1. These are the two important things that we need to understand and keep in mind while we are working around with sequential data, whether it's string, list, or anything, right? So moving forward, there is something, or we are going to discuss an array. We are going to discuss an error here, right? Let's say a is Python, correct? The last index here is, as per this formula, it is 6 minus 1, which is 5, right? However, if we are using, or we are attempting to use an index that is too large, right? Say for an example, if we are printing a of, let's say, 8, right? So here we will be getting an error which is string index out of range. See, this is the error, right? So we have to make sure that whenever we are using indexing in string or any sequential data, we have to keep track on the maximum number or the largest number of index, so that we do not get this particular error while working around with it, right? So the next thing is string indexes can also be specified with negative numbers, right? So instead of using only positive number, what we can do is we can use, or we can say negative numbers. So how are we going to use these negative numbers, right? So whenever we are using negative numbers, so indexing occurs from the end of the string. That is, whenever we are using the negative number, the indexing will start from the last or the end of the string, or the last character of the string. Let's say if we are printing a of -1, right? So we will be getting an output of n. Why? Because negative numbers or the negative indexing starts from the end of the string. See, hope you guys are understanding all these small concepts and logics, right? If you have any issues, you can write down your queries into the comments, or you can drop down your queries into our Discord community, and we will be happy to help you out, right? So moving forward, while we have understood and discussed this indexing concept, there is one more thing that we are going to understand, that is slicing of a string, right? So as the word suggests, we are going to slice, or we are going to divide our string into substrings, right? So Python allows a form of indexing syntax that extracts substring from a string, known as string slicing. Let's say if a is a string, right? A is our string here, correct? And an expression of a form a of, let's say, starting with 0 and it is ending with 4, right? So this particular format or this particular element is going to return the portion of a string, of our string, from a starting with position 0 and up to, but not including the position of 4. Let's say we are going to print it and see what output we are getting. So here our substring will start with a position of 0, right? That means the first character, and it will end at 4, but the fourth character will not be included. So here it is starting from the space, the white space that we have here, right? And it is going, so 0, 1, p will be index 1, y will be index 2, and t will be index 3, right? However, here we are mentioning 4, but the fourth index is not included. So this is the specific property of this particular element, right? So here the first element is the starting point, the 4 here, the second element is the ending point, but the ending point is not included, right? So here is one thing that we should understand and remember, that string indexes are 0 based. The first character of a string has index 0. This applies to both standard indexing and slicing, right? So for an example, if we are changing our string as well as our starting point, let's say we are starting from 2 and we are moving till 5, right? So when we are running this, we will be getting starting point of 2, that is t, and ending point of 5, but n is not included. This is very important to understand, right? So moving forward, let's say if you omit the first index or the first element here, that is 2, if we are writing like this, the slice will start at the beginning of string, right? So if we run this particular command, that the string, the first index, we are not mentioning it, however the ending is mentioned. So the string we will get will start from 0 and end at the 5th position, but the 5th position is not included, right? Similarly, if we are moving forward and we are mentioning the first let's say 1, the first index, but we are omitting the last index, this in this we will be getting output of string starting from y, that is the position of first index, and it will run till the end. So if we'll run, we'll get this, right? So here in the second output we can see that we haven't specified the second or the stopping index, right? So here let's say the starting index is m and the ending index is n, right? So what we can say here is this: in slicing we represent the string as a in bracket m colon n. This is the syntax of our slicing, right? So also we can say for any string, here in our case it's a, right, and any integer, let's say n, right? So our string is a and we have taken any integer, right, when in this particular range. So whenever we concatenate these two, the result we are going to get is the original string, correct? So hope you guys have understood what exactly we are doing here, how we are slicing up the string using the index and this particular format, right, and also this particular property, which is very important while we are understanding the working and slicing of the string. So moving forward, we have understood that m is the starting index, right, and n is the ending index. There is one more thing that we are going to understand, or we can say one more variant of slicing syntax, right? So for that, what we are going to do is, so this is the syntax for slicing, but here we are going to add one more colon, right, and a third index. Let's say it is O, right? So this particular syntax or O is known as stride or step. So this step indicates how many characters to jump after retrieving each character in the slice or the substring, right? So how is this going to work here, right? So let's say we are printing the whole string, right? But the step or the character to jump is 1, right? So when we run this particular program, what are we going to get? We'll quickly go ahead and comment this, right? And when we run it, you will see that every second element is actually jumped off left or left behind, right? So we are starting from 0th index, that is P. The second element is jumped, right? Then we are getting an output for the third element, then fourth is jumped out, and lastly the sixth element is jumped out, right? So this is the working of our step, right? So moving forward, the next thing that we are going to understand is using negative indexes, right? So you can specify a negative stride value as well, right? So in which case Python steps backwards, or it will read the string in a reverse pattern, right? So in that case, the starting or the first index should be greater than the end or the second index, right? So here is one more point. When we using a negative step, so when we are using the negative using a negative step, the starting or the first index should be greater than the ending or the second index, right? So here, if we are using -1, right, at the step or at the position of O, right, we will be getting a reverse string. See here. Sorry. So moving forward, when you are stepping backward, if the first and the second indexes are omitted, right, the default are reversed in an intuitive way. So here we have seen the first and the second index have been removed, right, and we are using a negative index, and when we run we get a reverse string altogether, right? So now we have understood that what is string, how we represent the string, the operators that we used with string. Also we have understood the looping through string, indexes and slicing, right? Now the next thing that we are going to understand is modification or modifying a string, right? So as per the definition, right, we know that the string is immutable, right? So in a very simple language, we cannot modify a string, right? So string are one of the data types Python considered as immutable, meaning not able to be changed, right? Say for an example, if we have a string, let's say Python, right, and we have to change it. Let's say at the place of P, I have to insert a new character, let's say it's J, right? So we cannot do anything like this. this will be a string, right? So now if we'll print A, we will get an error, that is string object does not support item assignment, right? However, this is not possible, but if we have to make these changes, that at place of P I have to insert J, what we have to do, we have to generate a copy of the original string that has the desired change in place, right? So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to make a copy, right? So here what we will do, we will print, we know how to concatenate two strings. So say for an example, J is our string, we are going to concatenate it. We know how to slice our string. So here we are going to slice our string A, right, from the index of 1 to the last, right? So here what we are doing, we are using a plus operator, or we are concatenating these two strings, that is a string J, and here we are slicing our string from the index of 1 and we are running it till the end. So when we go ahead and run this, we will get our desired output, right? Let me run it once again. So this is our desired output. We have made the specific changes, that at the place of P we have inserted a J, right? So now let's move on to the next section, right, in which we will be understanding some built-in functions that we use around our string, right? So we are going to understand the built-in function, okay? I'm so sorry, it's built-in. So the first function that we are going to understand is capitalize, right? This is our function. So what this function do? It returns a copy of our string. Let's say our string is A, which is Python, right? It returns a copy of our string A with the first character converted to uppercase. So how? Let's see. Print A, capitalize. So when we run this code, what we will get? We will get an output, right, of our string, but the first character, that is P, will be capitalized. See here. Moving on to the next function, it is swap case. Swap case. So what does this function do? So this function returns a copy of our string with uppercase alphabet characters converted to lowercase and lowercase to uppercase. So say for an example, if we are doing this, right? So here in our string, we see P is in lowercase, Y is in uppercase, T is also lowercase, H is uppercase, O is lowercase, N is uppercase. But when we run this particular program, we will get an output where the lowercase is converted or changed to uppercase, and lowercase characters will be converted to lowercase. So see here, we got the specific result. Right? So hope you guys are understanding what exactly we are discussing here. If you have any doubts, please feel free to comment your queries below the video, or you can join our Discord. To join our Discord, please follow the link which is given into the description below. Right? So moving forward, the next function we are going to discuss is lnum. Right? So this particular function, it returns true if our string is non-empty and all its characters are alphanumeric, either a letter or a number. Otherwise it will return false. Let's say here we'll change our string like this. So still our string is alphanumeric. So if we'll run this particular program, we'll get an output of true, right? But let's say I'm making a change. I'm adding a special character, right? And again, when I go ahead and run, it will provide us false, because now our string is not alphanumeric. Okay, so moving forward, the next function is alpha, right? So here this particular function returns true if our string is non-empty and all its characters are alphabetic, right? So now our string is alphabetic. It does not contain any special character or any numeric characters, right? So when we run this particular program, it will provide us true, right? But if I make changes and add numbers here, right, and after that when I run this program, it will give us false. Why? Because the property of this function is to return true if and only if our string is alphabetic, right? So moving forward, the next function we are going to understand is lower, right? So this function returns true if our string is non-empty and all alphabetic characters contain all alphabetic character that the string contain are in lowercase. If not, it will provide us an output of false. So here, if we run this code, we'll get an output of false. Why? Because this particular string, that our string contains some of the characters which are in uppercase. It's false. But if I'll go ahead and make the changes, now all the characters are in lowercase, right? So when we again run this program, it will provide us an output of true. So till now we have discussed all the major concepts, right? All the major concepts except one, which is our interpolating variable into string, also known as formatted string literals, right? However, this particular topic of formatted string literals is very vast and cannot be actually condensed or compressed into this single video. What we are going to do is we are going to make a separate video for it, right? So if you have any issues or if you come around with this particular topic of formatted string literals, you can ask us your doubts and queries and questions into our Discord, for which the link is given into the description below. So moving forward, as we have understood all the basic and major concepts of our string, right? So now what we will do, we will move on to the question and answers, right? So we are going to solve some of the questions, the 10 questions that we have taken, right? And we'll see how we are going to solve those questions. Okay, so for that, let's quickly jump onto the questions that we are going to discuss here. Right, before moving on to the questions, what we will do is, just a minute, I'll quickly go ahead and wrap the text around. Yeah, so these are the 10 questions. So before moving forward, I'll again state that if you face any difficulties, any issues, right, understanding the functions or the basic concepts of string, feel free to ask your questions into the comments below, or you can join our Discord, for which again link is given into the description below. Right, so the first question, let's take the first question. So here, write a Python program to count the number of characters, that is the character frequency, in a string. Right, so what we have to do here is we have to check if a character is repeating in a string. If yes, how many times. Right, so for that we will quickly make a new file. Right, let as question1.py. Right, here py states that this particular file is a Python file. Right, so we will quickly make a comment. We will write our question. So now let's say we need a string, right? So for that, what we will do, we will take a input. So say for that it's a input, enter a string, correct? After that, what we will do, we will make a dictionary. Let's say an empty dictionary, correct? Now we will loop through the string. So for that we will use for I in a, correct? Here we are using characters to loop through the string, right? After that we will check whether that particular character is present in our dictionary or not. Right, so for that we'll do if I in f, because f is our dictionary. If it is present, then what we will do, we will increment the frequency of our character, that is I, right? Or else if it is not present, then we will assign 1 to that particular character, right? And at the end we'll provide, or we will print so here what are we doing, excuse me. So here what exactly we are doing, we are asking our user to input a string, right? After that we have made a dictionary. Why? Because we have to provide the, or we have to provide, or we have to display an output like a character and the number of count that that particular character is present in the string, right? So let's go ahead and run this particular program, right? Enter a string. Let's enter my name, right? So here you can see that D comes once, H comes once, but A is coming twice in this particular string, right? So when we enter, we'll get the frequency like D is coming once, H is coming once, A is coming twice, W is coming once, and L is coming once. So this is the output that we need, right? So we have solved our first question of string. Moving forward to the next question, that is, write a Python program to get a string from a given string where all the occurrences of its first character have been changed to this particular special character, that is $, except the first character itself. So here what we have to do, right? So we have to pass on one string, right? Let's take an example of our last question here. We were passing Dhawal, right? So the count for A was twice, 2 times, right? But instead of counting the frequency of the character, here in this particular question or question 2, what we have to do is we have to display a new string where the second occurrence of a character will be replaced by this particular $, or the special character sign, correct? So let's make a new file, write down our question. So again, we need an input from our user. So for that, we'll use the same input method, then enter the string. So now we need a new string, right? So what we will do, we'll make a new but empty string, correct? Now we will loop through the string that is being provided by our user. So for that, for in, let's say n, right? Again we will check if that particular character is present in our empty array, empty string, that is x. So for that, if I in x, if it is present in x, then we will change it to the special character, that is $, right? And after that we will add that character to our empty string. Else, if it is not present, then we'll simply add the character to our empty string. And after that, at the end, what we are going to do is we are going to print our string that we have created, that is x. So if we'll run this particular program, let's pass good. So here you can see the second occurrence of the character is changed to $, that is the special character. Let's go ahead and run it once again. Let's pass my name itself. So again we are getting the $. So we have solved this question. So if you have any doubt, please ask, whether into the comments or you can come into our Discord community, and for that you have to just follow the link which is given into the description below, right? Moving forward, let's see our next question, that is question 3. Write a Python program to remove the nth index character from the non-empty string. So what we need to do here, right? So first let's make our file where we are going to make the program. This is our question. Right. So we need to remove nth index character. So here we need two input from user. First is the string, second is the index from where we need to remove the character, right? So let's first ask for the string. We got our string, let's say n is our integer, so for that we input, enter the index, correct. Now we need to make changes or modification in our string that has been provided to us by our user, but we cannot do that. For that, what we need to make a new string. Let's say m is our new string, it will be an empty string. Right now we are going to loop through our string, but now instead of going with the character, we are going to use the index, right? So for I in range length of a. Now I will not represent a character, but instead it will represent a index, right? So now if I is not equal to n, why we are taking this particular condition? Because we have to remove the particular character with the with index that user will provide, and it will be n, right? So here what we will do, we will add all the other characters to our empty string, right? So here it will be like this. Print m, right? So let's check, have we finished or have we created a correct program? Wait, we will pass one more thing. Right, let's quickly go ahead and run. Let's say it's Python, the index, let's say it's 3. So here we can see h has an index of 3, right? And it has been removed. Hence we can say we have made, or the program is running absolutely correct, right? So need not to worry, all the questions and all the code for the answer and the program are present in the link given in the description below. The link is of our GitHub repository. You can go ahead and check the code and questions over there, right? And if you feel like you can alter the code or modify the code, feel free to do that. Okay, so moving forward to the next question, which is question 4, right? So question 4 is write a Python program to remove the character which have odd index value of a given string. Okay, so here what we have to do is we have to make a program where we have to remove all the characters present in the odd index, correct? This is the question that we have. So what we are going to do, we need a string, right? So for that we'll use the input, now we have to remove the characters which have odd index values, right? So now we have to make modifications to our string, but we cannot. So for that we will be needing a new string, right? And it will be an empty string. Now again we are going to loop through the string. So for that we'll use for I in range length of a. Correct. So now if 2 is equal to 0, so this shows that if the index is even, we are going to add that particular character into our empty string. Then print m. Let's pass Python. So here we can see P is on even index, T is on even index, and N is on even index. Correct? So that's why we got a string of characters, or we have removed the characters which have odd index values, right? So moving on to the next question, that is question 5. Write a Python program that accepts a comma separated sequence of word as input and print the unique word in sorted form, that is alphanumeric. Here we are going to make a new file which is question5.py. This is our question. Now here we need a string, right? So it will be input enter comma separated sequence. So now we have done the first part, that it accepts a comma separated sequence of word, right? Now we have to print the unique words in a sorted form. Correct? So for that, what are we going to do? It's very simple. We are going to make a list which will be m equal to m So what this particular line is going to do is, first of all, it will split our string at every comma, right? And after that, it will add the single value to m, right? So now if we'll just go ahead and print m, let's see what we get. So sorry, it will be Python comma code file. So we are, from this particular string we are getting a list, right? to see the difference, let's go ahead and print n as well, right? Python code file. So in string, this is a single string, but in list there are 3 different values, right? Now what we have to do, we have to join these values in, so that the output that we will get will be in a sorted form, right? So for that, what are we going to do? We are going to use a specific function which is join, right? So for that, what are we going to do is, it will be print, then we are going to pass comma, right? Then join. Inside the join, we are going to use sorted, then list, then set, and m. First of all, we are making a set out of it, right? Why? Because we need this particular, so that there should not be any repetition. Then again, we are making this set as a list, right? Then we are passing this list into sorted function, so that the list is sorted as per the alphabets, right? And after that, what we are doing, we are joining all the elements of the list into one and printing out it as a string. Sorry. So now we'll quickly go ahead and run this. It's Python code file, and let's say apple, right? And press enter. So here we can see we got the output, right? The expected output. We have taken a string and we have given an output that it is, all the unique words are in a sorted format alphabetically, correct? So this means we have made a correct program and it runs. So moving on to the next question, that is the question 6. It is, write a Python function to reverse a string if its length is a multiple of 4, right? So basically what we are going to do here is, we are going to ask for a string from the user. So for that, we are going to use input, enter a string, right? So now we have to check if its length is multiple of 4, correct? So for that, if length of a, right, by 4, so sorry, then by 4 is equal to 0, then it will be reversed, correct? So for that, we are going to use this dot join correct. Else it will be print a, correct? Here, sorry, it's not n, it's a. This is the one format. If we'll go ahead and run it, let's say the string is good, sorry. So we'll run it. It's correct. We have we have learned one more thing, right? If we'll print just a minus 1, it will also give us the same thing. Let's check whether it's true or not. Correct. So we'll run. It's good. And so we can use both. We can use this particular function as well. We can directly go ahead and use this as well, right? So hope you are understanding what exactly string is, how it works, how we can use multiple type to solve a single question. If you feel any issues in understanding, or if you like that you can make any changes in these codes, feel free to provide us all the information into the comments, or you can join us in our Discord community, right? Link for which is given into the description below, right? So moving forward, so till now we have solved 6 questions, and now I do understand that, not understand, but I think that you will be able to solve rest of the questions very easily, right? So moving on to the next question, that is 7, which is write a Python program to print the integer with asterisk on the right side of a specified width. So here what we have to do, so this is our question. So we need a string of integer, right? And we need to add asterisks on the right hand side of the specified width. That means we have to check the width or the length of the string as well. So for that, let's take a string. It's input, enter the number, correct. Then we need to add asterisks sorry, asterisks on the right side of the specified width. So for that, let's say we are going to take a new variable which will be equal to asterisk multiplied by length of a, and then print m, sorry, it will be a plus m. So here we are using our multiplication operator, where we are going to repeat or copy this particular string number of times the length of our string, correct. So for that, let's quickly go ahead and see if it is running correctly or not. Let's say it's 1 to 3, enter. Yeah, so the length of string is 3. We are adding 3 asterisks here, right? Let's again run it. Let it's 1 2 3 4 5. Yeah, so we are getting the correct result that we need, right? So this is the program, and it's absolutely correct and running. So moving forward, the next question, which is write a Python program to count and display the vowel of a given text. Okay. Let's quickly make a new file, right? This is the question. Okay, so we need a string or text, will make one more string here in which we are going to pass all the vowels and in capital as well. Now we are going to make a new empty string, right? And we are also going to make a new counter. Now we are going to loop through our input string, which is I in A. If I in M, then that particular character will be added to our empty string, right? And we are going to increment our counter by 1. Then print, the first thing will be, let's say, list, which will be X, and second will be count, which will be A. Correct? So let's quickly go ahead and run this program. We'll do its Python. Sorry, it will be N. My bad. It will be N. We have one vowel, which is O, and count is also. Okay, so we have completed 8 questions till now. Moving on to the next question, which is write a Python program to move all spaces to the front of the given string in a single traversal. Okay. My bad. Yeah. So now what we have to do is we have to move all the spaces to the front of a given string, right? So here what are we going to do? First we need a string, right? So for that, and input, enter a string. Now what we have to do, we have to move white spaces. So now we need to collect white spaces, right? Or what we can do is we can collect all the other characters. Let's go ahead and do that. So for that, M, so in M we will make a simple list, I guess. So A, for A in N, as N is our string, right? We'll pass one condition as well. If A is not equals to a white space, right? Then what we are going to do, we are going to check the difference between the length of our string, that is N, and length of M. Okay, so that we can calculate the total amount of white spaces that we are going to put in front of our string, right? So for that we will do this, length of N minus length of M. Now we got all the things that we need, so now we will print just a second. So this is what we are going to do. We will be starting up with our output with a double quote, then we will be needing our space here, then we are going to use, just a minute, it's a string. Sorry for that. So we'll quickly go ahead and do this. So here Python is easy to learn. So here we can see we have 1 white space, 2, 3 and 4, right? Here we can see that there are 4 white spaces that has been added in front of our string, and after that we have the whole character set of the string, right? So we have made a small program for this particular question as well. So moving on to the next question, that is our last question. So for that we have write a Python program to remove all the consecutive duplicate of a given string, right? So any particular character that is coming into the string more than once will be removed, right? This is the specific of the question. So we'll make the file .py. So now we are going to need a string, sorry, it's input, enter a string, now as we need to modify the string, right, we will be needing a new empty string, correct? Now for I in n, if I not in m, then we are going to add I or the character into our empty string. So m plus equals to I, and that's done. So now print new string comma m. We'll run it. Let's say good. Got. So we have removed the second character, right, from the string. Second occurrence of character O from the string. So this was it. We have completed the basic understanding of strings and also our 10 questions, right? So hope you have understood the concept and implementation of it. If you have any doubts, queries, feel free to comment, or You can connect with us on Discord. Link is given into the description below, and link for the question that we have solved and code is also given in the description below. As I have told you earlier, it's a GitHub link. You can check all the details there, and if you want to make any changes, feel free to do that. Okay, so thank you very much, guys, for having you. Please subscribe our channel, like our video, right? We will be making more videos related to Python and other technologies as well. We are also planning to come up with different webinars for different technologies like C, C++, Linux, even cybersecurity and ethical hacking as well. So thank you very much and stay safe.